Hi, everybody. I'm here with Buddha. Here hopping on a podcast. Wanted to tap in with him a little bit. It's been about 2 weeks, and the last time we spoke, we got into some baseline topics that I wanted to get back into. So, before we start, just wanted to ask you, who you are, what are you trying to put out there to the world, and what are some of your values?
Yeah, my name is Buddha Boy, Killeen, Texas, born and raised. A little bit about me. I did 10 years in the Air Force. I got out, started chasing my dreams to become a professional basketball player. Played some college ball at 30 years old. Got to play in Hong Kong at 36. And then just been in California entrepreneuring. Started my own brand. I just want to hoop. And now basically I just personal train. I train at a gym, and then I also train outside of the gym with private workouts on the court in the weight room. I specialize in mobility work. As you don't know, I'm 40 years old and still playing at a high level. So um, I get some elderly clients that hit me up and just want to know how I can still stay mobile. So
It's really
uh,
dope too. It just shows like your innovation as a basketball player because you're exposed to a lot of different things, different types of training. So again, while you were in college, while you were pro, you probably did a lot of like rotational training. You probably learned concepts like forward lateral transverse, and so now you extended yourself from I'm a hooper college, I'm a pro, I can train, I have sports performance background. You know what I'm saying? And then plus with that DNA of the military, it's almost like, well, you have that capital outside of just hoops. So how do you feel like you've been using your identity capital as a basketball player to cater to the world outside of just you playing, to cater to the youth sports, to cater to veterans, things along that nature?
yeah, along I think it just has to go in line with my story. Just being chasing my dreams at a later age. A lot of people were like doubting me about you know getting out of the military and playing basketball as a career job. Um, so I think I just shows like no matter what your age is, at any point, you can chase your dream and do whatever it is that you want to do.
So what got you to have that awakening of, all right, let me put the rock down for a little bit, go to the military? What forced your drive for that transition? Because that's a big transition to make. That's a big transition to
Oh,
make.
from basketball to the military.
Military, yeah, yeah.
At that point, I didn't know who I was. Honestly, I was just looking for guidance. I was looking for mentorship. But some of my mental issues had me having walls up, so I wouldn't allow anybody to get close. And then yeah, I was just getting to a point where I was getting into too many arguments and fist fights with my parents, and it was just time for me to do something. And they've always invited me on military, so I didn't really know what else to do. So I just kind of forced my hand, went into the military, try to get something going in my life. So I just went along with it. Um, I don't know, like God gives me this ability of, just adapting to whatever situation that I'm in, no matter what. Um, so yeah, just it was just a crazy transition. Um, it wasn't what I was used to. Like I had been comfortable for so long, being in my parents' hands, and now it's like, you're on your own now. And but at the same time, like while I was in the military, I learned that the military is kind of like a parent as well. Because you're getting a steady paycheck on the first and the 15th. You have like medical benefits, you have dental benefits. Um, they tell you where you have to be at what time. Appointments, if you miss them, you get in trouble. So it's kind of like the same. The military was like kind of like a parent.
Was it hard to adapt to that structure of just like, all right, well, now my time is in the hands of a force that's much bigger than anything I've been used to?
I think for a lot of people, it's kind of a awakening. But like I said, with me, I don't know. God blessed me to be able to just adapt to whatever situation that I'm in, no matter what.
You probably had a lot of different cultural awakenings, a lot of culture shocks. To explain to me some of the cultures that you've been immersed in through that process and how that's been.
Well, my first culture shock was when I found out that my first duty station after tech school. So yeah, basic training, and then you go to the career field that you chose to do while you're in the Air Force. I chose firefighting, so then I went to firefighting training, and then after 13 weeks, we found out what our first duty station was, and mine was AK. I remember I seen Elmendorf AK, and I was like, "What is AK? Is that Arkansas?" And then my homeboy was like, "Nah, bro, that's Alaska." I was like, "What?
Wow.
I'm going to Alaska?" So yeah, that was my first duty station. Being born and raised in Texas, basic training was in Texas. My tech school for firefighting was in Texas, and then I get shipped to Alaska 3.5 years, and I was yeah, just seeing snow, that much snow every day for a long period of time. That was different, definitely different. Driving on snow and ice was different. So the time difference, the it being nighttime most of the time in the winter, and then during the summertime it's mostly daytime. Trying to go to sleep without your windows covered in the summertime is difficult in Alaska.
It was scenic. It's very scenic though in Alaska.
Yes.
Very mountainous, right? Is it what mountainous?
Yeah.
So you're surrounded with bodies of water.
Anchorage is huge. I believe there's like 200,000 people there. It's a city. So it, it was weird because you would think Alaska out in the open and stuff like that, but Elmendorf is right there in the city. Of course, I would venture off,
Right.
do my outdoor stuff, because I was raised in Texas and my stepdad would take us camping all the time. So yeah, it was beautiful out there.
And you being outdoors, I mean, forces you to tap into a different level of spirituality and spiritualism. Do you think that being in that atmosphere kind of got you a deeper spiritual connection? How does your spirituality stem with that?
It's funny you say that because every time I go out camping when I was younger, and even when I was in Alaska, like I said, I didn't know who I was. So as far as me, like I didn't really tap into my spiritual side. I didn't really get to enjoy the moment too much. I was kind of just doing it just to say I did it. Unfortunately, you know. But since I like found myself and believed in myself, and I was like 30 years old. Anytime I get into a situation, I've definitely been able to tap in spiritually, and just be in the moment.
That's amazing. And do you think your experiences of being in the military kind of enforced that spirituality side to you, or was it already engraved, but it just took a lot more to get it out?
I think it helped me like stay covered up for a long time. Once I put myself in tough situations, I found myself in positions where I really had to dig deep and figure out who I was. Find out my true meaning. What am I doing this for? What's my why? And that's what really helped me out.
And I think that concept was starting to be established when you were in your 30s and you're just figuring that out. Now that you're 40, do you think it's a concrete of who am I? What do I stand for? What's my identity? Or are there still areas where you're trying to keep piecing it together?
I'm still growing in the process.
Right.
But I definitely enjoyed the journey though.
Yeah.
Just for the simple fact that when you know who you are, it's like you know how to make yourself happy.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean? So no matter what my situation is, if I'm super successful or if I'm struggling, I know I can go out there and find a game of basketball. Be totally happy.
Right. Because they all combine. Basketball combines with it. So the veteran is a big part of your identity capital, but as well as your Hooper DNA as well. And that's where you're able to be innovative on a different level, like this past weekend at Venice with the veterans event. I mean, that's all through basketball. It's almost giving basketball is the force that's tying all parts of your identity, all parts of your spirituality together as your platform. So that's another thing I wanted to ask you about was that experience this last weekend at Venice, and how liberating that might have been, kind of using basketball as your platform to promote something that's true to you and your identity. So give me a little bit of insight on that experience.
Well, a lot of it was for a couple of reasons. The main reason was to help any veteran, anybody that's out there that might be struggling. I know when I was like living in my car and I was struggling, it was real hard for me to reach out and find out the resources that that were out here for veterans and that were out here in the Los Angeles area. You know what I mean? You didn't have to go on a computer, a laptop. You didn't have to call somebody. It was literally right out here. And to let them know, like, there's people out here that want to help you out. Let me be a voice and show you, like, these people at VPN, they're down to help you out with, assisting with getting housing, food vouchers, uh, gym memberships, getting your disability claim started. If you're going through mental issues, there's so many things that they can do to help. All you have to do is say something.
Right. And it starts too with you tying your own basketball platforms to this. And it's interesting that it was your first event. And did it kind of go through the vision that you had for it? Was the outcome the same as how you visioned it? Was it a little bit better? Like, what was
it? It blew my mind, man. The feeling that I had playing basketball, it's like a joy, it's a love that I have. But actually doing something to help somebody else out, I don't have to help the whole world, but if I can help one person, like, it's the best feeling. It was the best. I felt like my purpose was like being fulfilled.
yeah.
Right.
That's amazing. So it's just so powerful to hear, and it makes you think of all the other outlets that you can use and other platforms that you can use to keep elevating others, keep causing attention to the problems at hand. Because a lot of the correlations between veterans and mental health illnesses. I mean, we'll see, especially, and I could speak from New York City. It's a lot of former Vietnam vets that are homeless and just wandering the streets, maybe strung out or have just lost everything. And we don't take time to really tap in and see what's going on and see what's the cause of this PTSD of veterans and the effect that it has after. And I'm sure there's a significant amount in LA, but it takes figures like you to promote that and do it in a way that it's like you're targeting multiple different audiences just with one event,
Right. So the basketball, like, hopefully it helps them come out of their comfort zone, just come around, just seeing people. And then, somebody might be able to say, hey, how you doing? Just reaching out to them. Or they might get comfortable enough and be like, hey, man, I really like your hair. And then just starting a conversation is a way to, like, start healing. Like I said, I think the whole world needs a little bit of love. Once we all feel that, it's real easy to open up and feel comfortable with somebody. But this world is filled with a lot of hate, greed, so it's tough. It's tough right now.
What's beautiful about that concept is just how far basketball can take somebody, how far people can utilize basketball for things that have nothing to do with the act of playing itself. Because the innovation of basketball players, if we really want to tap into it, is really powerful. We could be sports performance trainers, we could be media relations, or we could be like people running a lot of different fundraisers and events and using it to change the world. So I really would encourage people to keep using their own basketball platform to do so, to do what you did, because what you did is a powerful thing, and all that was you being true to certain things that you stand for. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier about how you get older, you start to know who you are. So all you did here was you took the points of things that you knew for a fact is who you are. You knew for a fact you're a hooper, that's your DNA. California basketball is a part of your DNA. Check. Took that identity of, being a former vet and
Yep.
also have suffered before mental health illnesses, combine that with the basketball scene, and you got yourself a really successful first event. And that's something like
Yep.
that's so powerful. And I feel like so many people need to just learn from that. There's so much to learn from that. And again, you having that age, I think it's giving you the ability to think a little bit more innovatively with this.
Right. Right.
Has it motivated you to maybe do another event in the future that you're thinking about?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna try to. Not even try. I'm actually putting together my first tournament.
Nice.
It's gonna be based on mental health. It's gonna be a Halloween tournament, but I'm gonna release some gear, some mental health. I just want to hoop gear,
Nice.
and yeah, it's gonna be 10 teams. Uh, it's gonna be my first one, so I don't want to go too crazy, to where everything gets out of hand. I want to learn from my mistakes from doing this tournament, and then try to make the next. I'm gonna make the next one 10 times
Absolutely.
better.
Absolutely.
The veterans event, they loved it so much. We're definitely gonna do a second one next year.
Nice. Nice. No, and it seemed like a success. Another thing I peeped at the veterans event was, uh, did you get like Olympic, like Paralympic athletes? Was it? I saw.
Man,
I was like, whoa! Like this is something I've never seen before. Like I've never seen anything like this before.
yeah. Actually, my good friend Nico from Venice basketball, he uh he had the plug on that one. So, like I said, I just plugged Venice basketball and the veterans group. Excuse me, and they both said that they can do stuff together. And that was one of the things that Nico could offer because he knew somebody, and it was an awesome experience. Um, I knew about it, but to actually be in it and to see it firsthand, again, it blew my mind.
Oh, that's
Like
amazing.
just actually getting in the wheelchair, trying to play, I got a whole new aspect, a whole new vision of it. And I was just like, wow, much respect. And my good friend Matt, he's an Olympic gold medalist. Dude is amazing, man. I mean, the dude would like fall and then just throw himself right back up. And I was like, when he fell, I was like, oh my God, you all right?
That's insane. And he's like, yeah, I'm good.
So,
He's probably used to it. It's like,
oh yeah, he's like, I'm all right. This
yeah,
happens all the time.
keep
Yeah.
on going. So how do you physically do it? Like after experiencing playing a wheelchair, like what do you have to? What's the key to that?
I mean, there are rules. Like you every two pushes you have on your wheels, you have to bounce the ball, and then you can like put it in your lap. But the times that you do it, you can just do one time and then roll all the way down the court, and then do the second one later. So you only have two. After two, you have to dribble the ball. You didn't have any lateral movement, so
That's right.
that was the most difficult thing for me because defensively, like you go side to side and
Right.
you're sliding. This is like you have to literally turn all the way around. If you get beat, then you're beat. It's
It's
interesting.
yeah.
It's tough.
How does defense work when you're
Yeah, you can hit each other. You can like literally run into each other, stop their movement of going forward towards the basket. It's so hard to reach over your wheelchair circle into their wheelchair circle.
what was shooting like? Did you have to change your mechanics shooting? I mean, I'm sure you did have to change your mechanics shooting, but like how what was it like kind of lowering that level? You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
fortunately, I mean, are you still generating floor up? Like, how do you have to change your shot at all?
it was actually the momentum of the wheelchair. So the further you shot away, like if you shoot from 3 point line, it's good to get like a little rolling start and then shoot it. Um, Definitely have to be stronger upper body. I didn't really have a problem with it because my upper body's pretty strong, but some of the other guys that don't work out. It was a little tougher to shoot 3 pointers.
That's so crazy to me. And again, I think it just makes me think we said you're tying basketball, Venice veteran, but you're also now tying like Olympic basketball in one. I mean, that's such a success, man. That is such a success. Did you even think it was gonna appeal to that many? Because again, you didn't do it with the intention of appealing to that many platforms. You did it with the one purpose of the veterans event, but then one name led to another, and it became a wheelchair basketball veterans at Venice. You know, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy.
I didn't see that coming, man. It's just that just shows like you put two people together, you don't even know what can come out of it, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
if you know people, like just you'd be surprised what can happen
Yes.
when you connect the dots.
Seriously. I want to get into a little bit of your values with mental health advocacy, uh, especially when it comes to the athletic portion, because obviously we talked a great deal about the mental health advocacy within veterans and former people who were in the military. But I mean, hot topic right now is mental health amongst athletes, amongst collegiate athletes, pro athletes. So did it stem from you suffering mental health issues throughout your time as a player? Did it kind of stem through just what you see in society, how you see a lot of athletes being affected covertly and behind closed doors, and how it's now coming to light? So what do you feel?
Yeah, I think we all have like some kind of mental issue. My father hasn't been in my life, and I'm still able to push on and still keep pushing forward. But you know, my sister, I found out I have a half sister. She actually struggled more with it than I do, you know, and I think that's what we have to realize is that when somebody shares um, what it is that they're going through, something that's bothering them, we have to be in a position of caring, um, because it could really be hurting that person. You
Right.
know, we can't put a level on how much he or she should be hurting. That person is hurting. You know, the simple fact that they're able to express how they feel is what we need to really be, proud of. Like, thank you for sharing that with me.
Right.
Because with mental health, it's like it's so hard for us to say something because we're hurting or we don't want to be judged. So we hold that stuff to ourselves. But it's we have to be in a place where we are showing that we care, and that's what the space that I want to be in with the mental health is this. Because out here in California, I've seen like the mental system in like firsthand, not with myself, but with a friend, and like nobody really cares, man. It's like they just give them a pill and sedate them a little bit, think that they're supposed to be okay. It's like that person is hurting right now.
Right.
Like all you did was neutralize that person.
Right. And people are suffering battles that you would never even guess. Like you can walk by somebody in the street and there's something completely going on behind closed doors that you would never guess and never and everybody can be a victim to mental health illnesses.
Right,
Nobody is
right.
exempt. And I think part of the problem, like you said, it's we're so used to normalizing the concept of compartmentalization when it comes to mental health. Like, all right, when we have an emotion, let's bottle it up. We have an emotion or we're going through something and we have to keep it behind closed doors. And that
Mhm.
compartmentalization just you're never solving the issues that you're having. You're just bottling up and it causes more problems, more issues. And we need to
Right.
normalize being open and honest about some of what we're dealing mentally, whether that's as a player, whether that's as a person. There's just so much in life and it's not normalized. It's looked very much down upon. But
Hmm.
I think again, basketball platforms and athletes and people who are involved in things that you're involved in have the power to alter that culture, have the power to change the stigma on mental health illnesses.
Right.
You know?
Right. It's okay to speak up. It's okay to say something. Um, it's okay to share your story. You
Right.
know, I think the more we show love instead of judgment, I think the more people will be able to open up
That's right.
and won't be so afraid, won't be so worried about other people judging. You
Right.
know,
And what's ironic is the same people who are posing judgments are probably the same people who have battled these behind closed doors as well. So
ain't it though?
also, so it's just like, it's an illusion, man. And that's the thing. It's we gotta put the judgment part to the side and just be open and honest as to what's going on, especially with a lot of the situations going on with collegiate athletes. I mean, collegiate athletes right now are the hot topic. During spring, you have 5 softball players who committed suicide. You know what I'm saying? And it makes you wonder what's going on in these institutions. What's going on with the adults in these institutions? because the adults and the coaches are the ones that are around these athletes every single day. So are there patterns that they're not realizing? Why are they not seeing some of what's going on with their players? And coaches, I think coaches have such a powerful role, which is to uplift and elevate athletes. And if coaches aren't using their platform to uplift and elevate, then they're not doing a good job as coaches. Straight
Right.
like, and it just makes me wonder, why are athletes battling things compartmentalized and compressed? Why are they compressing emotions? What's the culprit as to some of what's going on with them mentally? I think there's a lot of situations where athletes, their narratives are being dictated by outside forces. Their narratives are being dictated by coaches, by medias, and they're much more than just the athlete itself. They're much more than just the product of an institution. They are humans, and I think a part of the issue is coaches are using them as products. Coaches are using athletes as a means of trying to elevate them to get somewhere else. They're using athletes as a way to I wouldn't say clout chase, but to build their own coaching brand, but build their own coaching brand instead of with the motive of I want to develop professional level athletes.
Right. Right.
So what do you feel about the collegiate coaching or college athletes' mental health from what your observation is?
I think it's an accumulation of a lot of people that's in that child's life, inside the athlete's life. I think it can be parents also. It's just a lot of pressure that parents can put on kids, coaches can put on kids, teachers can put on kids. Like you said, man, you really do not know what somebody is going through. And from what I've seen, a lot of kids start at an early age. Like their parents put them in like these basketball programs, football camps. You know, I'm just speaking sports in general. I can't really speak on other things that parents might do. But from the sports world, from what I've seen, like they start at a really young age, and they do this like all throughout school year. Even in summertime, like it's a constant grind. And the parents get to a point where they're cussing them out when they don't have a good game.
Right.
When they don't wake up and they don't go work out because they had a bad game, and then they're so involved in their college picking, and they get the strictest coach made. It's just you just never really know what somebody is going through, and I think it could be accumulation of a lot of things, a lot of people, and like I said, it's the love that I feel like will help athletes. I feel like it's the love that will help athletes get to a point where where they're comfortable to be able to speak how it is that they feel. Again, that's the most important thing to me is where people that are going through something, they feel that love from somebody to the point where they can at least speak and say something.
Right. And
Right.
a lot of athletes are almost kind of gaslighted to think that what they're going through is not rational, it's not validated, and to suppress.
Right, that part.
And I think again it does stem from coaching figures, it stems from parent figures. If we can somehow figure out a way to ensure to not just collegiate athletes but all athletes that what you're going through is justified and you have every reason to feel, and you have the right to feel things. You have the right to have anxiety, depression. You're not crazy for seeing things and feeling the way that you feel. You're not crazy and you shouldn't suppress it. Then that's going to be key to reversing the stigma that we have. That's going to be key. And we do need to take a look at some of the parent and coaching figures that we have in youth sports, because verbal abuse is normalized in sports at a very young age. So
yes,
what we think is acceptable, it's really not acceptable, but because it's just so normal of like let's talk to this athlete, or let's talk to my kid in an angry demeanor or in a unsupportive demeanor to try to get something out of them. That's not the solution. That's not the solution. Then we accept just ongoing forms of mild verbal abuse. and we normalize that, and that's what's corrupting the sport. That's what's getting athletes to lose love for the game. It's stuff like
That
that,
part.
you
Yeah.
know, and it's
Mhm.
unfortunate, and I really hope that we can figure out a way to get athletes to remember why they picked up the ball or why they picked up the racket in the first place. It's because you fell in love with the sport.
We gotta find a way to like thank athletes for like expressing how they feel, like,
Right.
when they're going through something. Like, that's so
Yes, and that's what's gonna change the situation, because there's not platforms for athletes to just come and be real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially if even in media atmospheres, you put a mic in their face and they feel forced to kind of say what will make you look good, not speak realism. So I think that's what it is right here, is us talking like just realism. Athletes coming on here and just being real about them, their stories, some of what they battled through and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want athletes to know, like,
Yeah.
they need to feel appreciated for sharing their story.
Yeah.
Like, you have to show like there's an appreciation, because that person didn't have to tell you that.
Right.
They can hold it in and suffer.
Right.
But you expressing yourself, like, thank you so
much for
for
doing
that.
that. It's hard.
So hard.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
It's so hard.
So hard.
So if we can change the vision or the stigma of showing like appreciation for people expressing how they feel, instead of, wow, that was awesome that you shared that.
Right.
No, thank you for sharing that.
And it's worth promoting. This is worth promoting. It's worth, like, a platform is sharing what you're going through mentally when it comes to this stuff.
Right.
I want to help other athletes share their stories, and blowing that stigma and making it okay for athletes to come here and talk that, I like to call it like below the court with Buddha Boyd. So that's kind of below the court. It's we're tackling untold stories of athletes. Like, we're talking about what's going on behind closed doors, below the surface, like below the court. So I mean, yeah.